to do. Just trying to check how many people, selected an already existing product and did some desk research. Before I ask, before anybody like tell me what they found out, what they documented, what their research showed them, I just want one person, if you're bold enough, to come up and tell me what desk research is. One person, please. Nobody? Are you guys in on that? Okay, okay, we have a hand. John, yeah, go ahead. Tell me what's desk research. Speak.
There, to my own understanding, there's research. It's also known as secondary research. It is when you gather
Yeah,
information that already exists instead of collecting new data yourself.
amazing, amazing. That's 100% correct. Does anybody else know the kinds of places you can do secondary research, desk research? Where can you go to find data, get this information that you're trying to gather? Does anybody else have the answer? It's only John that understood everything I taught on Monday. Okay, John, go ahead. Go ahead. You can unmute and speak. Hello, John. You can
You
unmute.
mentioned you mentioned websites. You mentioned
Okay.
websites, reports and articles, case studies, market
Yeah.
research data, competitor analysis, and app store.
Amazing. Amazing. You mentioned everything that I said. You're doing good. Well done, John. Okay, great. So, before we move on, just a simple question. What is the difference between product design and UI UX design? I gave one key difference to help you really understand when people use those different words and what it can mean in the global scale. So does anybody want to give me the answer, the difference between product design and UI UX design? Anybody? Just anybody? Okay, John, you can give me the answer.
Okay, UI UX design focuses on user experience, easy and smooth. That is how smooth it is to use. Let's say for
Hmm?
instance, is this app let's say for instance, let's say Twitter, for example. Before you use it, you watch it and ask yourself, is it easy to use? Let's say you watch the layouts, the interactions, the buttons, the visuals, and all of that. While product design is the idea of the entire product, the solution, which includes problem solving, user research, and business goals.
Okay, amazing. That's a good answer. That's not the answer I was looking for. Um, the major difference between product design and UI UX design is that product design is a general term for designing any type of product, be it a bus, a vehicle, a car, be it let's say a packaging for a brand. Product design doesn't have to be just digital products. It also includes physical products. So there are product designers that work in engineering. For Tesla, there are product designers that work with Meta for the what's that their device called that they use for what's that thing? Okay, it's skipping my head, but let me use Apple's one, the Apple Vision Pro. They're product designers that work on the actual hardware of those devices to make sure that the entire usability of that hardware device is suitable for users. But UI UX, that's why, like I said, UI UX. I didn't just say UX design because UX design can also be the user experience of a customer. It can be the user experience that you get when you're in a restaurant. But UI UX means user interface. and user experience design. It means the actual interface of a digital product. So it has been streamlined from just general product design, which can include every and anything that is a product that people use, down to the user interface of a digital product and the experience that the user has when using that digital product. Okay, so that's one of the things that I don't want us to forget, because it can come up in the future. Even when you're looking for jobs, seeing the different job descriptions for product designers and UI UX designers, so that you know when a job is not, exactly what it is you're looking for, and also know when a job is a perfect fit for you. Okay, amazing. So now moving to the assignment that I gave at the end of the class yesterday. Did anybody take an already existing platform and do some secondary desk research on it? Anybody? I would really appreciate it if somebody else spoke, so that I'm sure that you guys are following, not just trying.
Hi everyone. So I think the speaker's network is misbehaving, I guess. So let's just wait for her to join back.
Sorry, I logged out for a minute. Can you guys hear me now? Hello?
Yes, we
Okay,
can.
amazing. Thank you. So I think the last thing I said was someone should come up and tell me a bit about the secondary research that they carried out after our first class on Monday. Did anybody come up? Please, if you came up, you can come up again. Speak. If nobody, is there anybody else apart from John? Anybody else? Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and look at the people that are in this call, and I'm going to call out their name, and you'd have to come and tell me what you did. Okay, Ayeni Daniel, what did you do? Ayeni Daniel, can you hear me? Were you in the class on Monday? Is Ayeni Daniel on this call? Ayeni Daniel, are you ignoring me? It's fine to tell me that you didn't do it. Okay, he's not speaking up. I'm going to call one more person. Duru Ifunaya, did you do the secondary research?
Hi, good evening.
You did.
No, I wasn't available the last call.
Oh, okay. No worries. Okay, let me try one more person. Okay, let's see. Etido Nasia, were you in the last call? Did you do the secondary research? It's fine to tell me if you weren't in the last call or if you didn't do it.
Hello, yeah, good evening. I was in the last call, but I did not do the research as I should. And I'm working by the road, it's quite noisy here.
Okay, no worries. Okay, so I'm out of luck. So John, please, have the mic, and in a good 2-3 minutes, tell me what you did, what you found out, how you carried out your research, just quickly.
Okay, good evening, everyone. During the our assignment period, I did a research on X, which is formerly Twitter. And what I found out, let me just start from the beginning. The product overview, which is X, formerly Twitter, is a social media platform where users share short posts, mails, and engage in conversations globally. And number two, which is product goals, real-time communication, share news and opinions, build online communities. And the target users are age from 16 to 45, location global, tech level intermediate. And then my competitor analysis were Instagram and TikTok. Then Instagram, what I found is Instagram is visual focused and cleaner UI, while TikTok is short form and engaging content. Then what I found in user reviews and feedback, mostly from too many ads and irrelevant content. Number two, timeline is confusing, which is following versus for you. Number three, hard to find tweets from people I follow. Number four, verification system is confusing. Then the key points I discovered are confusing timeline for you versus following, irrelevant recommendations, verification and trust issues, information overload, very information overload. Then number seven, opportunities for improvement. Desk research. I carried out my research through desk research, competitor analysis, user review analysis, and my findings are increasing feature complexity without clear structure negatively affect user experience and trust.
Amazing. Thank you very much, John. So I'm going to use John a lot as John's research as an example throughout today's class. And the one important thing I was looking forward to hear was the things he found out from users' reviews and feedback, because majority of the time that is where you find an opportunity for a new product or an opportunity to improve an already existing product. And from what he has said, we can tell that people are having issues with navigation in terms of understanding how to do verification process. So there are three things he said that directly proportional to navigation issues. Number one, people are finding it hard to do the verification. Number two, people are finding it hard to find tweets from people that they follow. What was the last thing you said that had to do with navigation? Increasing there are a lot of features, but the complexity of those features are really high, so people are not able to understand how to use them. So from all this, we are able to tell that users of X are having issues with navigation. They're having issues with complexity, and this dials down to the user experience, the user flows, and the mental models of the people that are using the application. And this brings an opportunity for us to either improve that, or it brings an opportunity for a group or set of people to see this as a problem and introduce a simpler version of X that solves all these problems of complexity and navigation. Now, this is the major goal of user research in any product design, UI UX design sprint, which means that from here you get insights that would inform the rest of your user your product design timeline. So we're going to just go a bit deeper into what we talked about last week. We're also going to be talking about product design, product discovery, and user research. So I'm going to share my screen now and we're going to begin. Just give me a moment. Okay. So we're going to talk about design philosophies. And if you remember, I talked about the double diamond um, design philosophy on Monday. And I told us that a lot more design philosophies which are going to unpack in the next class. And this is it. So now that you understand the basics, we'll go a bit deeper into the framework and philosophies that people use all over the world. So number one, we have the user-centered design. We have human-centered design. We have design thinking. We have lean UX, and we also have material design. Moving forward, I personally always follow a user-centered design philosophy, and I'll tell you why. It's because majority of the products that I've designed are B2C products. B2C products mean business to customer. B2B means business to business. SaaS means software as a service. So just in case you hear me use any of those abbreviations, that's what they mean. So user-centered design is a design philosophy that places the user's needs, behaviors, and limitations at the center of every decision that you make as a designer. And basically, you are the advocate of your users. And that is why research is one of the most important parts of design. And it's at the beginning, it's the first thing you need to do before you go into designing. Why? Because if you're following the user-centered design philosophy, your user has to be at the center of your design. And for you to understand them, know what they want, what they need, and how you might solve their problems, you need to do research. So basically, the core principle is that if what's built for the user, the business will follow. Users don't adapt to products, products adapt to users. If you don't build what your users want, they'll never use your product. But if you go ahead and build something that the business wants and the users don't really want, that product is most likely to fail. That's why a lot of products fail, because they don't really understand what their users want. And that is why research is a key part of that. You need to know what your users want. So what are the steps to take in a user-centered design philosophy, user-centered design process? You need to understand context. You need to research where, when, and why users interact with your product. You need to research where, when, and why users would want to interact with your product, especially if it's one that does not exist. You need to specify requirements. Because you have now gone ahead to understand what your users want, you'll now be able to group those wants into requirements, because you understand their needs. You're able to now basically say, okay, these are the goals of my users, and how can I help my users meet those goals? Step three is basically to move forward to designing your solutions once you've grouped your users' requirements, your users' needs. So just to iterate, your first step is understanding your users, doing your research to know what they want. Your step two is now grouping those wants and needs into specifications, looking at the patterns in the research that you've done and grouping it into, okay, these are the requirements, so my users' needs, these are their wants. And then your step 3 is now to move into actual designing. So the Figma that you're seeing designers use, the Adobe XD, and all those products, you don't even open them until you've done the first 2 steps, which is number 1, research, and number 2, grouping those research into requirements. Number 3, you now move into creating design solutions that address those requirements. And number 4, you now move forward to evaluate your results. Now, when do you use your user-centered design? If you're building a consumer product, anything where it's a business that is giving consumers a product, you always need to make sure that you use user-centered design. When usability is very, very critical to adoption. So, for example, Instagram, X, Facebook, all these products that are used by billions of people all over the world, their usability is critical to adoption for those products. Everybody, someone from China, someone from Nigeria, someone from America, someone from Europe needs to be able to use that product because it is a consumer product. It's different from when you're designing a dash. It's different from a product. So I'm trying my best to not speak in technical terms. It's different from a product. It's different from a product where you're designing it for, let's say, an internal team of developers to use. It's different from a product that you're designing where it's a tool for businesses. For example, let's say it's a tool that Facebook sales people will use in Facebook to track the sales and how many people run ads in Facebook. That product is going to be used by a small number of people inside the company, mostly people that probably have technical skills. But when you're designing a product that a large range of consumers all over the world or in a city or in a country are going to use, you always need to make sure that you prioritize the user-centered design philosophy, the user-centered design principle. Okay, moving forward, I'm going to talk about human-centered design. Human-centered design and user-centered design are usually used hand in hand, but there's a bit of a difference. Now, the human-centered design considers the entire human experience. And one company that uses this philosophy is Google. They always consider the entire human experience, including emotions, culture, psychology, and societal impacts, including disabilities and all of those things. Now, the difference between user-centered design and human-centered design. User-centered design is how do we make this usable? Human-centered design will say, how do we make this meaningful, ethical, and inclusive, right? So these are 2 things that you can use hand in hand to solve a problem, to make sure that you're actually covering the whole human experience and also making sure that whatever it is that you're working on is completely usable for the users that you're designing for. Okay, so I'm going to move forward to the next design philosophy, which is design thinking. Design thinking is a methodology, it's not just a mindset. So basically, it's thinking, as I said, design thinking. You're thinking for your user, you're thinking in the line of what your user would want. So you need to empathize. Empathize is basically understanding what your users want, putting yourselves in their shoes, trying to understand their needs, their wants, their struggles, their frustrations, moving forward to defining. From understanding their wants, needs, frustrations, you can now define what their problems are. From defining, you can move to ideating. Ideating is now making sure that you're looking for solutions that will solve those needs and wants that you found that your users have, that you've defined. Then you now move forward from ideating to prototyping. Prototyping is now creating solutions that will solve those problems that you found through the ideas that you've created. So for example, I can say, okay, I want to build a product, I want to solve a problem. And the problem that I want to solve is, let's say, for example, people that don't know how to track their medication, right? Let's say I have a grandmother that has medication that she needs to take every day, let's say 3 hours, 4 hours apart. And she always forgets because it's a lot for her to remember. Now I need to understand that, okay, that's the problem I want to solve. I need to empathize with her. I need to ask her questions. Okay, why do you forget? What's the most frustrating thing about taking your medication? Is it that you don't like taking it, or is it that you don't remember? Or is it that sometimes you're not at home? I ask questions to understand, to empathize with her. From there, I can now define that, okay, she has said that it's because she doesn't remember sometimes, and sometimes it's because, she has to eat when she takes her daughter, sometimes she has not eaten. So those are two things. Being able to remember to eat, take drugs, being able to remember to take the drugs. So I can now move forward and say, okay, what can I create that would help this, that would solve this problem for my user? Okay, I need to create something that would remind her. I also need to create something that would remind her to eat before it's time for her to take her drug. So from there, I've come up with a solution. Okay, I need to create a drug tracking reminder application for people that have persistent medication. Okay, I'll now move forward to saying, okay, how can I do this? Okay, what would be the next step for me to do? What do they need? Do they want something that will be a watch on their hand? Would it be a mobile app? Would it be a website? Or is it going to be a paper tracker that she can write on? I need to think about these things. And then once I've moved forward to think about these things, I need to ask my user, what would you prefer using? Would a mobile app that you can have in your pocket, in your phone, that would send a reminder to you or ring whenever it's time? Would it help you? How would you use this, etc? So this is the whole process of design thinking, being able to now move forward to creating that thing and then testing it. Testing it is making sure that what you've created actually solves the problem that your user is facing. And this is the full design thinking in practice, and we are going to be using this a lot in all the assignments that I'm going to give. Again, your first assignment, which is research, which is the first step in all these design philosophies that you've seen me explain. And very soon we'll move into defining, ideating, prototyping, and testing. Okay, there are a few others that I'm not going to emphasize on, which include lean UX and agile design, but I will just request for a few minutes before I continue this session. Just 1 minute. Okay, just 1 moment to share my screen. Okay, moving on. I want to talk a bit about material design and design systems, which is a bit more under the phase of prototyping, because these are philosophies and design principles that we use when you're actually gotten into visual design, which is going to happen in, say, the third or fourth week of your learning. But we want to bring it in here. So basically, it's a set of standards, components, and guidelines that ensure consistency across products. So, for example, things that you see on an app, which include things like buttons, typography, it includes things like colors, input fields. These are things that you will see on every application that you use on your phone. They are basically the foundations of any product. And material design and design systems help to guide those standards and make sure that everything looks consistent and it's accessible to people. So, but we'll talk about this in let's say in the third week of your training. Okay, so I want us to do a deep dive into the discover phase, which is where we are at the moment, which is the take-home assignment I gave us on desk research, secondary research. So at the end of today's class, we're going to have a take-home assignment for surveys and interviews. Okay, so user research planning. We have done desk research. For you to do desk research, you don't have to actually plan for it. You can actually just go on the internet, have goals that you want to meet. Say, I want to find out a bit more about this problem. See the people that are facing this problem. From this, I want to be able to find out the demographic of people, etc. But when you want to go into user research and actually speaking to people, before you talk to a single user, you need to have a research plan. And I need everybody to have their pen and paper to write this down, because it's very important. Okay, I'm just going to give like a second just in case people need to grab something to write down. Okay, so you need to define your research questions. What do you want to learn? You need to be specific. You need to guide you when you're asking questions, and you're not just going to ask generic questions to people. So, for example, we have a case study that we've been using called Carry. And if I was going to define my research questions for Carry, I'm going to start with why do users fail to save consistently? You know, I would say, what are the emotional barriers that exist around money? I would say, how do they currently manage their finances? These are the things I want to learn. And then this would help me guide my questions. Number two, identifying your target users. John said that he identified the target users for X, and he found out that they are from age, did you say 18 to, I think he said 18 to something. But then I would want to know, okay, what is my target users? From there, I will know the people that I need to speak with. So if my target users are people 22 to 25 employed in Nigeria, I know that I wouldn't be going to university to go and talk to people. I'm looking for people that are already working. I'll probably chat to people that work in banks, people, teachers. I'll chat to, say, lawyers that work in law firms because they're employed and they fall within that range of 20 to 35, which is Gen Z stroke millennial at the moment. So I'll know that, okay, that's for my target users. So I would not find myself talking to a 60-year-old retired man because that's not somebody that is in the demography of the users I need to speak to for this product that I need to understand, for this product that I want to build, you know. And then you need to choose your methods, a mix of quantitative and qualitative. Just before we move on, does anybody here know what quantitative and qualitative research are? I think I explained it in our last call. Does anybody want to raise their hand and let me know what those things are? Nobody? Hmm. You guys are making me feel bad, though. Is it that you guys don't understand what I'm teaching? Nobody knows what qualitative and quantitative research is. If you don't know what that is, then I can't continue with this class. So we need to know what quantitative and qualitative research are for us to move on. Okay, okay. Okay, Ayewami, yes. Give me your answer.
All right. So can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
So basically, qualitative research is has to do with one-on-one interview.
Okay.
Yes. So the quantitative is like a survey where you get to
Amazing.
know a bit. Yes, survey like how many, something like that. It has to do with numbers, just to
Okay.
get how do I explain a certain number of people, something like that. Has to do with that. So yeah,
Yeah.
basically.
Okay. Amazing. Amazing. You're right. So qualitative is basically data that you get. And qualitative research is speaking to people. It includes interviews, as you said, and quantitative, from the number quantity, you can call it numbers, is basically surveys and getting a bunch of data from surveys, from forms. Something that you can use for statistics, etc. So that is what qualitative and quantitative research are. Just Hello, can you guys hear me now? Hello. Okay, amazing. Okay, so I'll say quantitative research. Those are surveys, and from there you can get data from a lot of people because it's not limited to just the people that you speak to. Okay, moving on. So you need to know what methods you want to use for your research, and then that will guide you to know, okay, my first phase of research, I'm going to do qualitative or quantitative. I'm going to speak to this many people, and then I'm going to send out forms to this many people around Nigeria. Say, I want to get a target of 100 people, and then you can achieve that with quantitative. And say, I want to speak to 5, 10 people, and you can achieve that with qualitative. So then you need to also set your success metrics. For me, personally, I always set the number of people I need to speak to, or the number of people that need to fill my survey for me to get a good range of data that would help me to come up with patterns, to note patterns, that would help me to note things that keep coming up, that will help me to note actually what my users want, that will help me to then move on to defining, which is me creating personas, trying to understand the segregation of users, the different demographics that exist in my own wide demography of users. So this is the first thing you need to do before you move into actually speaking to people or creating surveys and sending it out. I hope we're all following. Now, so for example, to create a research plan template, I would say, what am I trying to learn? So I'm going to give everyone a take-home assignment, and I would need you to actually create your own research plan. So take note of this. You need to know, what are you trying to learn? What are your goals? The next thing you need to know, you need to come up with 3 to 5 questions that will help you learn what you're trying to learn, which is things that will help you achieve your research goals. Then you need to move forward to saying, okay, who are my target participants? Who are they? How many are they? And what's the screening criteria? For example, my screening criteria for carry is they have to be age 22 to 35. They have to be employed in Nigeria. They need to earn between 80 to 300K, and they need to have tried saving before, but they struggled with consistency. So if you've ever tried to sign up for like a survey research thing, they always ask like questions. Some of them will ask you, oh, do you live in the US? What state in the US do you live in? How much do you earn? Sometimes if the answers you give for those 3 questions are not correct, they won't actually take your data in terms of filling that survey. So you need to make sure the people that you're collecting data from are people that are actually within your target participants. Then you need to set your methods: interview, survey, desk research. I'll always do the 3 of them, and I'm going to make sure that you all do the 3 of them, because projects that you get to work on eventually when you become a product designer or UI UX designer, sometimes you might not have the time to do interviews and to just be able to send surveys out. Sometimes you might not even have the time to do both interviews and surveys, depending on the project. And all you can do is desk research, secondary research, which is going online to look at competitors, looking at educational research materials, or looking at reviews from App Store and Play Store. Those are the only things that you'll be able to see. So it's important that you know how to do all 3 of them. And that's what we're going to do, all 3 of them. We've done desk research on Monday. We're going to do interviews today. And the last one we're going to do will be surveys for Friday, so that we have experience in doing these 3. So that when you actually start working on your project at the end of the month into May, you would have done this through the classes and be able to actually do it on a better level when you're working on your project that you can then put on your portfolio. And then you need to also set a timeline. Do you want, is it going to be 1 week? Right now, your timeline is basically like 2 days to do all of this. When you want to conduct your interviews, you can be like, okay, I'm going to conduct interviews for, say, 1 week or 2 weeks, depending on the resources you have, how much data you want to collect, etc. And then you need to have your deliverables. Now, your deliverables are the things that your research would lead into, which take us to the next stage of defining. So your deliverables after your research are things like, okay, I want to create a persona, I want to create a journey map, I want to create an empathy map, I want to have a research report, etc. So these are the things that you need to note down, and I'm going to need to see your research plan, see your research, and see your deliverables as we move on in these classes. Is everybody still following me up until this point? Just give me thumbs up if you are. Amazing, amazing, amazing. Okay, So moving on, we're going to have a deep dive into some interview techniques, right? The first one I'm going to talk about is the funnel technique. Now, the funnel technique, if you think about how a funnel is shaped, is wide at the top and then narrow to learn. So you start very broad. You start with making your interview with very comfortable with you. You know, you can start with, oh, tell me about your typical work day. That's very simple. It's an open-ended question. The answer you get from 3 people will be different. Do you understand? It's not the yes or no question. And then you now move towards narrowing it. When do you think about money during the day? You're now trying to move more into if you think about money, walk me through the last time you wanted to save but didn't. That has now gone to my major point of understanding how they save, why they don't save. So you can use the funnel technique to curate your questions when you're doing your interviews. Another technique is the 5 whys. Now you keep asking why until you understand the root cause. Most people stop at surface answers because that's just it. If you don't make people think, they wouldn't really be able to give you the answers you're looking for. So if you keep asking why. If you've ever watched anything that has to do with therapy, you'll understand that that's what therapists do, to uncover what your actual problem is and how they can help you. That is, in fact, in this situation, you're a therapist. Think of yourself as a therapist. So you ask, if someone says something like, oh, I don't save money. Let's say you ask the question, walk me through the last time you wanted to save for this, and the person says, I don't save money. You can't just stop there. You need to understand why. So why don't you spend money? They say, I spend it all. You say, why? Because of family emergencies. And I'm like, why do you spend it on family emergencies? Because I'm expected to help. Why? Because it's my responsibility as the eldest. Now you've literally uncovered a cultural insight. It is their responsibility because they are the eldest. So you are now beginning to understand that if you ask, say, 100 people and 10 to 15 of them give this kind of answer, you understand that most people don't save because of their cultural responsibilities. And then that is something that you can change with your products through psychology, through human psychology, through targeting those people with, say, marketing ads with a feature that you've created that's particularly for them. You understand? And these are the things that will help you to actually find features in a product that would actually sell, that will scale, that people would use. Okay. So I hope that you understand that. And then we have the last one, the power of pauses. Before you respond to any answer from your interviewees, you need to pause for say like 3 to 5 seconds, or count to 5 in your head, or count to 3 in your head. People often add their honest thoughts in that silence. It's like sometimes you say something, the first thing you say, you've overthought it, and then you say it out, and then you say something to follow it up after pausing for like 3 seconds. It's just one of the techniques used in interviewing that would help you. So as I said before, when you're interviewing, make sure that you do not ask questions like, don't you think? You're putting thoughts in their head that they'll most likely agree on with you, but you're trying to find out what they actually do, how they actually think, not what you want them to think. And that's just how human beings work. So make sure that you do that. You don't ask questions like that, leading questions. Make sure you don't talk too much. Your interviewee should be the one talking. Don't ask questions like, would you use this feature? You find it in a lot of surveys. You find it in a lot of interviews. You shouldn't be asking, would you use this feature? Because you're trying to find out what they need and create features based on the answer. So asking them, oh, would you use a budgeting feature that will tell you how to save your money 50, 30, and 20%? You've already given that person too much information, number one. Number two, because they have not used it, they will not be able to tell you if they would use it or not. You need to be able to find out their habits, how they actually think, what they currently do, to then come up, say, because of this, and this, I believe that this feature would be good for this person. Okay, so make sure that you don't ignore body language. When I'm giving you your assignment to actually do your interviews, you need to make sure that it's on Google. If the person is not in front of you, make sure it's like on a Google Meet or a Zoom call where you can see the person's face. And then you can also record it. You remember one of the things I said about doing interviews is making sure that you can record the interview, so you can go back and find insights, and make sure that your interviews will not pass 60 minutes. I never even do my interviews for 60 minutes. Some big product interview sessions can take up to that, but try to keep it between the 5 to 30 minutes interview time, which would really make it short and sweet and not make your interview tired. Okay. Oh, we have just 5. Okay, we have 5 minutes left. Okay, before I go into surveys, which would probably dive deeply into the next task, let me give us our assignment. Before I do that, does anybody have any questions? I want you to ask all the questions that you've asked now, so that when I give the assignment, you actually do it, because you need to do this to understand how it works. So when you're working on your own project, you're able to carry out these same things on your project and get good insights. Any questions from anyone? Okay, John, yes, let's go ahead.
So you said our next assignment is going to be about interviews. So I was going to ask, let's say if I'm going to interview somebody concerning our next assignment, does that to be should it be concerning what I already worked on, or I can pick another product to?
It would be on. I think I would prefer you to just continue on what you've already worked on, because that way you've done the secondary research. Now you're validating your secondary research by actually talking to people. And then from there, you'll be able to get different patterns that will occur whilst you're doing this assignments. Is that okay?
All right, thank you. Yes.
Okay. Any other question from anybody else? Okay. So, if you did the secondary research and you chose a product to get data on and find information about, please continue with that product, except it was too boring and you want to choose something else, that's fine. But continue with that or choose something else. If you were not here on the last call, choose a product, do your secondary research, which is looking for information on the internet, looking for information on like app reviews, etc. And I want you to move forward to interviewing a minimum of 3 people, maximum of 5 people on that product. I want you to create your survey template, which includes what you want to learn. Then come up with 3 to 5 questions on that thing you want to learn. That will help you ask questions that would give you insights. And then move forward to choosing some interview methodology. So you can use the funnel method, which starts from making your interviewee comfortable, asking them a broad question, and then funneling it down to something that would help you understand how they actually use. So for example, for John, I would say, oh, what are the social medias you use on a daily basis? Now, if the person should answer and say, okay, I use WhatsApp, I use Instagram, I use Snapchat. Twitter did not come up in that answer. And I'll say, why do you use those 3? And I'll understand why they use those 3. And then I can pop in a question and say, do you use X at all? And they say, yes, I use it, but once in a while. Why do you use it once in a while? That way you're beginning to understand a bit more about how they use products, why they use it that way, what makes them to use X, what makes them not use it as much, etc. So do your research, come up with your templates, move forward to talking to these people, and then make sure to document what they say. Once you've documented it, we'll move on to the next step, which would be surveys, and then moving into defining, which is looking at the patterns that come up from all our research and coming up with solutions. Okay, Daniel, you have your hands up. Is it not the Daniel that I was asking to tell me what he did that did not answer me? Yeah, you can speak, Daniel. Don't be scared. Don't worry.
Good evening. Thank you very much for the class. I think 2 questions actually. I don't know if you have said it before. The network wasn't really clear, so I've been in and out of the class.
Okay.
First thing is the research we're supposed to do, the desk research.
Yes.
Is it supposed to be on an existing product or a new product? I didn't really get that.
So it was meant to be on an existing product. an existing
Okay.
product. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, because your projects, your portfolio projects will start at the end of the I think 5 or 6 week class, and then you're going to be working on a new product. So I don't want to stress you guys your brains to start thinking about new products now and then, and I don't want you to start doing your projects now. So that's why I'm making everybody do existing products just as an example. It's just things that you use to practice so that when you actually start doing that product, that is a new product that will be in your portfolio, it will be something that is not new. You're not just being thrown into the bushes to start it. You'd have done it on existing products and be able to apply the same principles to the new one. Okay, I think yeah, any other question before we have to go
So,
because it's already 8.
secondly, I wanted to ask the people we are going to be interviewing, are they just going to be random people or people that fit a specific criteria?
Fit a specific criteria. I said you need to know your target participants. So you need to set at least 2 to 3 things that would help you nail down your target participants. So you need to know, okay, I want to speak to people. John, tell me, what are the target participants that you found out for X from your desk research?
From age range is from 18 to 45, and then location is global, while tech level is intermediate.
Okay, so now he has 3 things that would help him find those people that he needs to speak to. 18 to 45, intermediate level of tech. Basically, they can use a phone, they can download an app from App Store, and then global. So you can talk to anybody, Nigerians, Ghanaians, Americans, etc. So that's what you need to find out. That's why that desk research is very important. Okay, is that good? All right, great. Thank you guys, and see you in our next class.
Thank you so much, Macy, for tonight's class. Thank you so much. It was really detailed enough. Thank you for your time and everything. So, guys, I'm